You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe.
Hi guys. So how are you guys doing today? Hi. It's nice that you guys all joined. I'm so happy. I thought I'd be the only one here. I'll just give it a couple of more minutes before I start. So I decided to do an Instagram live, and this is my first Instagram live, guys, and I'm so shy and nervous. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I'm shy and nervous, but I believe it's for a good cause. So I'll be talking about what it's like to live in Nova Scotia. I feel like a lot of people ask me that. I did a question poll a while back, and a lot of people were interested in knowing what it's like living in Nova Scotia. They sent in a bunch of questions. I'll probably go through all those questions, and if you have any more questions to add to that, I'll respond to them. So I think one of the first questions, and if I'm looking down, just know that I'm just looking at my notes because I wrote down the questions. So one of the first questions that someone asked me was, what was life before getting into Canada? I think it's just more like what made me come to Canada, guys. So when I moved back from England, I was in Nigeria. I was sure that I was going to live in Nigeria all my life, like hands down. I thought having a foreign degree would give me an edge in the job market, but guys, it is tough. Oh my god, Nigeria is tough. I can't even begin. Like, it's tough anywhere else in the world, but it's tougher in Nigeria. Like, all the jobs I was getting, like, after having a computer science degree, it wasn't it at all. And I'm like, nope. After spending so much money on a degree in England, I cannot come and be getting nonsense salary. And it was nice that after a while, my parents were like, oh, don't you want to go for your master's? Go to the US for your master's and all that. So I think with all that emotion, so that just made me say, you know what, I'm moving to Canada. So let me now jump right into the process of coming into Canada. So basically, I knew I didn't want to do computer science again for my master's. So I decided to look for another course that was computer science inclined. I wanted something business and IT because I still like computer science and IT stuff, but I wanted to go more into the business stuff. So there are only 2 schools in Canada offering what I was really interested in. And yeah, so it was one school in Ottawa and one here in Nova Scotia. And I ended up choosing the one in Nova Scotia because a lot of people told me it was hard to get into the University of Ottawa. So I was like, oh my god. Like, I'd rather just go with the easy option. So that's why I chose Nova Scotia. And I ended up going to Dalhousie, which was nice. An awesome experience. The school was great. My teachers were amazing. I enjoyed doing that. I did a lot of stuff, 10 courses, internship, research paper, and all that jazz. But yeah, it's been a good thing, and I enjoyed all that process. So I'll just jump into one of the questions someone asked me. It was about culture shock. So I think compared to probably a lot of people who just came from Nigeria and moved to Canada, mine wasn't culture shock per se. Like, in terms of moving from Nigeria to Canada, it was more culture shock from I'd been in England and now I'm going to Canada. I was thinking it's gonna be the same and everything. Let me just wave to some people right now. Hi guys, thanks for joining in. I'm talking about what it's like living in Nova Scotia, and I'm just going through what I've been, like, the process of coming to Canada. That's what I'm just talking about. So talking about culture shock here, I didn't really experience that kind of culture shock where you're like Nigeria to Canada kind of thing. It was more like, oh my god, England and Canada, they are not the same in any way. I don't even know why I thought they were going to be the same. But yeah, it wasn't the same. I was like, oh my god, this is completely different. I'm still shocked that I thought that we were going to be the same, honestly. And let me start with one of the few things I think I thought was going to be the same. So I thought here, the transportation system is going to be amazing. I'll be able to see all the provinces in Canada and all that stuff. But nope. Like, flying or traveling within Canada is a pain. Like, it's freaking expensive. It's not like in England where you just get train. You can spend like £20, and if you have good rail card, if you have the student discount rail card, you can travel for even cheaper. Nope, it's not like that here. Like, flying will probably cost you $300, $400 to go wherever you want to go to. It can even cost you as much as $1,000. And for people like me, probably staying in the other side of the country, in Atlantic Canada, oh my god, traveling to a place like Alberta or Boys Father BC, oh my god, you're gonna spend a lot of money. So for me, that was like the real major culture shock I experienced. Like everything wasn't the same, even in terms of shopping as well. Like I know this might come up somehow, but there are not a lot of nice options in terms of clothes and fashionable stuff here compared to England. I know like it sounds like the really trivial things that I'm talking about, but I think when you're used to something and you're realizing, oh no, it's different, then you get what I'm saying. So after culture shock. But I remember like being when I was in England, one of the culture shock I really had was the food not tasting the same. So I remember like telling my mom to send me recipes and I would cook like Nigerian food and all that, and no, it didn't taste the same, and I was very overwhelmed. I was in a new environment. Even though I had friends, I knew people from Nigeria who were in my uni as well back then. It was still not just the same. I was just overwhelmed, like being in the new environment basically. But how I was able to get over it was just simply making friends, adjusting, going to school. Oh yeah, let me talk about school. Oh my god, schooling here is not even, it's no joke. Let me just put it like that. It's no joke. Like they expect a lot of work, and if you're doing masters, at least at Dalhousie, they tell you you need to get more than I think 70 or 75% as a master student. Like they don't give you like first class, second class like the way they do in England. It's just great. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted because I'm looking at the comments. So you really have to make sure that you don't get anything less than 70%. So it meant writing a lot. And because I came from a computer science degree, I didn't do a lot of writing. It was more coding and all that stuff. So writing was very, very new to me. I remember one of my feedback for my first assignment that had to do with writing. Oh my god, I got like 60 something. I'm like, what? I'm like, if I get to 60 something at the start of the semester, what am I going to end up with? So I had enough time to learn how to write, and it was good. It was around then I started blogging as well, so that really helped with my writing and improved my writing. So I think getting into the school system was very different to what I experienced in England as well, and I think that's what anyone would expect as well. No plagiarism and all that stuff that comes with schooling abroad. So I'm going to look down again and see. So life in Nova Scotia, for me, I personally I'm living in Halifax. Let me be specific now. So I'm not saying I'm living in the whole of Nova Scotia. I'm living in Halifax, and I enjoy living in Halifax. That's just the honest truth. I grew up in Lagos, and traffic day. Let me just tell you, traffic day. So for me, living in Halifax is chilling, like real chilling. And I like the fact that going to downtown is not far. Like when I was in my internship, I was working downtown, and it would take me less than 15 minutes. So I can leave my house at 8:30 and I'll be at work before 9. I really like that about living in Halifax. Like transport system is easy. But upon graduating and having to find a job a bit farther from where I was living, I wasn't having it. It was very far. And the way the bus system here works is that it will stop at every stop and possibly take the longer route. So it could probably take me 15 minutes driving, but getting on the bus, I'm probably going to spend 1 hour. So yes, I really hated that. So that's about that. What else about life in Nova Scotia you guys want to know? Let me see. What am I missing out on? School was great. So I've transitioned from being a student to now working in Canada. Thankfully, like getting a work permit was really, don't let me say easy, but it wasn't a pain. It wasn't something that I had to like probably get an immigration lawyer to help me do. It was something I could do by myself. And I think it's important that you take advantage of the international center. I was able to use the resources they had, and I was able to fill my postgraduate work permit, and that was really easy. I think for people who are thinking of coming and are not sure if they should sorry, I'm a bit distracted. I'm looking at the questions people are sending in. Sorry, you know what, let me just continue my train of thought, then I'll go back. You can send your questions again. I don't want to be distracted. So, and I forgot what I was about to say. So, transitioning into being a worker. I think for people who are not sure how they can become permanent residents or live in Canada after their education, like, let me just tell you, there's no fabu. It's true. You can do that. Like, it's easy. There are lots of routes you can use to become a permanent resident in Canada, and I'm taking probably the longest route, first being a student, then being a worker, then applying for PR, which is like the really longer route. So yeah, that aside, so now I'm currently working. So one of the things people wanted to know is how long it took me to find a job. So I think I finished school right in the middle of the pandemic, and which wasn't bad to me. I was happy. Like, I'm just like, at least I'm schooling from home. And thankfully, even though I was taking one semester and writing my research paper, then it wasn't so stressful. The course I was taking, then my lecturer said only all she taught us in person would come out in the exam. So it was really good that happened. And yeah, so that went well. When I applied for my postgraduate work permit, it didn't take too long, probably a couple of weeks, and it was out. I was surprised, but because like pandemic, people were waiting for their study permit and everything, so I was able to get mine in time. And yeah, after that, I got a job like probably 2 months after school, which was really fast. So quick story on that. So I applied for a job, and the same day they asked if I wanted an interview. So I was like, okay, this has to be a good thing. And yeah, so that happened. I got a job. I was excited. I had my reservations about the job. I think I'll probably talk about that in the blog post. I don't want to run on and on. Oh my god, snow just fell down. So yeah, I don't want to ramble too much about like the whole process, but basically I got a job 2 months after. I knew I didn't want to stay there for too long, so I basically switched jobs as well. So basically I switched jobs during the pandemic and I got a better job. That's just the long and short of the story. So yeah, Halifax is a good place, like especially for IT people. It's becoming an IT hub, and I think it's a really good place to be. So I'm going to try and read some of your questions. Someone asked me what's fun in Halifax. Well, fun is relative. What do I do for fun here? I think just hanging out with my friends. We hang out a lot. We try to plan different things you can do within Nova Scotia. I think a while back I went to Llike, the zoo at Llike, which was fun. I've also been to Victoria Park in Truro, which is nice. I think if you're a nature person, Halifax would be the place for you. And you guys be sleeping on the waterfront in downtown Halifax. Like, if you go there during, like in summer, it's a nice place to be. You can eat out and have so much fun. And I think one of the places I like to go, I know so many people start going there now. I don't want to see you guys there if I mention the place. I like going to the Citadel because I just think it's chilled. So I think those are some of the fun things I like to do. I don't think, most times just hanging with my friends, fun things will always happen. I can't even explain what the fun thing will be, but fun things will always happen. So I wanted to know the cost of schooling in comparison to England and Canada. Let me be honest with you guys. I think Canada is expensive. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I think Canada is expensive. Whether it's buying things or schooling or everything, I think Canada is more expensive. I feel a lot of people would disagree about that, but for me, that's my own personal experience. I feel like if a school in England probably costs like £20,000 and your year as an undergrad or a master's student, that would cost you about $30,000 depending on your course. Yeah, so you see the equivalent is not too bad. I think the only part that will be very different is in cost of living. I think when I was in England, I think you had to show about £9,000 in your statement before being allowed to get a study visa. So I don't know if that's changed now, but I'm guessing not. Even if it has changed, it's not by a lot. I think Canada here is about $10,000 or $12,000. I'm not sure about that, but yeah. So that's what I think about Canada versus England. So people also wanted to know about dating in Canada. I don't even know where to start with dating in Canada. Believe me, and the reason why I say I don't have anything to say about it is because I don't think I've been on a lot of dates for me to speak on it. While in school, I was really just busy with school, and I came with that England mentality as an undergrad, where like you don't want to get mixed up with someone, and everyone that is Nigerian in your school knows that you're being mixed up with someone. So I came with that same mentality. So I wasn't really looking at dating, and for me, it was the perfect time because I was single. I came to Canada, so for me, it was a good time to be single and facing my books, basically. So that's what I did, literally. I'm not on any dating app, so if you think I'm on a dating app, nope. What else about dating here? I think for me, one of the biggest things I've noticed is that a lot of Nigerians here are single. Even a lot of other people from other countries are single, but for some reason, they don't like to date each other, and I don't know why. So maybe people who are here and they know that are single, maybe they can explain to everyone why people don't date each other here. And I think people like to stick with like, oh, I'm a Nigerian, I want to date a Nigerian. Like, it's nice, but I think people should expand beyond their home base, basically. That's basically what I think about dating in Canada. Someone asked me navigating the corporate sector. Lol, I'm still JJ's in Canada for me to speak on this. Like, I just literally started like my new job in another company, so I can't even speak on that. Like, I'm still new. I think based on my experience working where I was working before, I think inclusion and diversity is an important thing. Like, being a black person is no joke. I don't really want to say this on camera, but I'm just going to hint about it. Like, if you're the only black person in an organization, I'll just tell you, run. Because it might not, like, because a lot of these people might be naive, they might not know how to treat you, and you might not want to speak up because, like, you're a black person, you don't want it to come up as you being aggressive towards your co-worker or your colleague or anything. So it's something that you have to tread carefully. Like, when you're thinking of taking a job, you have to also check if the company is diverse. I think it's very important. Like, when I joined the company that I'm working right now, you don't know how thrilled and excited I was that people could pronounce my name right. Like, I did think that meant a lot to me, but I was so happy to hear that people could pronounce my name right. I didn't have to tell people how to pronounce my name. I'm not saying people didn't still try to butcher my full name, Tolu Lokwe, but that is, if you can get Tolu, then I'm happy. Like, oh, you can call my name, then that's cool. So what else about navigating corporate career? I think deciding what you want to do is very important, because that way you'll be able to set goals for yourself. Like, where I was working before, I knew I didn't want to stay there for long. I had a lot of reservations about it. And one of the things I would say is that any company offering you, mentioning about salary first before you talk about salary, chances are they are not willing to negotiate. So if it's really not what you want to do, or if it's really not the salary you want, and they've told you about salary, it's better to be honest up front so that you don't waste your time. I'm just gonna wave to some people. Thank you guys for joining in. I'm just talking about living in Nova Scotia, transitioning from being a student to a worker and all that good stuff. So someone is asking, I'm told Canadians are nicer than the British. Of course, Canadians are nicer. Very friendly people. I just remember when I went to Peggy's Cove in the summer, and even though in COVID times, no one's supposed to be taking you pictures, like, one nice young woman offered to take me a picture, and I was so happy because I couldn't take a full picture by myself, and she was nice enough to do that. Yeah, they're always nice. They always like talk about the weather. They just have really something good to say compared to the British people. They're probably more stuck up. I hope no British person is watching. Yeah, so yeah, going back to work, yes, like, if a company talks about salary before you talk about salary, they're probably not going to be willing to negotiate. So I think it's important to know that. And I think as a student, your priority, like, it's good you get money, like, worth probably what you spent on your degree and all that, but get your PR first. After your PR, you can do whatever you like. Like, if you don't want to work again, if you want to start a business, you can do whatever you like. So that's that. Someone's asking if I'm happy I settled in Canada. Well, in comparison to Nigeria, yes, I'm happy I'm in Canada. Like, yes, I don't really think I can live in Nigeria anymore. I just think the wala is so much. Like, I can't even believe, like, $1 to Naira is like 500. Like, that's crazy. Like it's crazy. So your value of money today is not going to be the same thing tomorrow, and living in an economy where that is the case is ridiculous. But ideally, I think I would love to move back to England at some point. I hope the same way I feel about England, it will be great. Someone is asking about fun activities for children. Well, I don't have kids. I don't really have friends that have kids, so I don't think I know much about that. But I know, like, a lot of places have or neighborhood, don't let me say places, neighborhoods, they have playgrounds that kids can play. You can take your kids to the park. What else can you do? And in winter times, you can teach them how to ski. I think I went skiing, is it last year? Yes, and that was really fun. Yeah, so that's a fun thing to do in Halifax, skiing. It was really, really nice. I enjoyed myself. I fell down so much, but it was really, really fun. So that's that. I'm not sure I answered all the questions about navigating corporate world here in Canada. I'm still new to talk about that. It's too soon to be talking about that. So also someone wanted to know about the cost of living. So the cost of living here is relative. I think it's obviously better in comparison to what I've heard about Toronto and stuff like that. So cost of living here, it depends on your budget, but I'll say, like, if you're thinking of leaving, yeah, $1,000 as a student, I think it's okay. I can't really recall how much I was spending as a student, because I never really kept track of that. But I'm thinking $1,000 should be fine. Like when you pay your house rent, your phone bill, what else do you pay? Electricity bill and heating. What else? Then your groceries. So those are like the major things that will take your money, except spontaneous things. And if you're in school, like your school will have health insurance for you. At least that's part of your tuition as well. So you don't really have to worry about healthcare. It's only when it comes to buying drugs and something really expensive in terms of healthcare that would be good. I had a friend who had a surgery earlier in the year, and she didn't have to pay. Like she ended up paying like a few amounts for the aftercare after her surgery, but besides that, her going through the surgery, she didn't have to pay anything because she had insurance. So insurance is very important. Yes. At Wealthy is saying swimming classes, playground, and various playgroups for kids as well. I know like churches also have activities for kids as well. So if you're a Christian, churches have book club. At least the church I go to, they have book clubs as well. So that will be very interesting. I missed out on a couple of questions. I'm not sure if I can scroll back. Okay, yeah, I can scroll back. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Someone asked me something about is optimization and industrial electronic are in jobs. I don't know much about what you're asking, so I'm not sure. In terms of jobs, I think it depends on. I think every province has their own job niche. How do I put it? Like if you're thinking of IT and finance, then I think Ontario or Toronto is the place for you. Halifax also is becoming an IT place, so that's great. If you're thinking of things like e-commerce, supply chain, and all that stuff, BC is probably the best place for you. If you're thinking of engineering and all that stuff, it's Alberta for you. Any other province, I can't really tell. Oh, and I think Manitoba is good with healthcare. So if you want to be a doctor, Manitoba is probably the place you want to be. Let me see if there are any other questions that anyone asked me. Someone's asking me to check my messages. If you have a question, please just ask me right now. What else? Yeah, I'm just trying to see if anyone asked me any more questions. Yes, I said book club for kids. So the church I go to, I can send you a DM. You can send me a DM about this, and I will tell you what church it is. Yeah, the church I go to they have a book club for kids, and kids can come together on Zoom and have a book club session. Is there anything I missed on? Let me have a look. So yeah, I thought the cost of living, I think $1,000 is the basics. If you're thinking of whether staying on campus or off campus, then I think off campus is cheaper. I find like I did on campus in England, and it was nice because like the way it was a proper campus setting, so it wasn't like how Dalhousie is. So for me, living off campus paid off for me. It was cheaper. I didn't have to pay extra in during the holidays to stay there. So that's really great. So yeah, I think I'm hitting my mark for how long I timed this live to be, and I'll be wrapping up now. I hope I answered every question everyone asked me. Oh yeah, I did touch on something about Nova Scotia, which is the weather. The weather to me is really chilled. Like it's nice. Like, how do I put this? It's nice in comparison to when you think of Manitoba or Alberta or Ontario. Like it's nicer. Like this year or this winter period, even though we're going into winter like in a couple of weeks, I've probably had only 3 snowstorms, which is great. And the weather has been double digits so far, so it's been a chilled winter so far. Summer was warm and nice as well. Of course, there are those days where you have heat wave and it's annoying, but yeah, like it's pretty chilled in terms of weather. The weather is really nice. What else did I miss on? Oh yeah, I didn't talk about working as a part-time. So I did work part-time at the mall. It was a nice experience for the time being I was there, but after like, how long did I work there for? Probably 5 months. I had to go on internship, and I ended up not going back working part-time. Oh, I worked part-time because where I did my internship, I ended up staying there even though I worked full-time for my internship period for school, they ended up keeping me on to work part-time so I ended up working there for like 7 months. I can't do the math right now. I ended up working with them for about 7 months, which was nice. And yeah, so that was that with part-time job. It wasn't like it was a bit hard to find a part-time job initially. I was just applying everywhere, so it's important that you transform your CV to whatever CV you have right now to what the Canadian style is, and just make sure like you tailor your resume to what the job description is. Someone is asking, how do I enroll in Nova Scotia PNP? I think you should send me a private message and I can talk to you about that. But the most important thing with PNP is, so for those who don't know what PNP is Provincial Nomination Program. So the different ways you can move to Canada, either as a student, express entry, or provincial nomination. Different provinces have their own provincial nomination. So with provincial nomination, at least I know for Nova Scotia, you have to get a job first before you can even be considered to be in the pool. I might not be correct about that, but yeah, send me a DM and I will get back to you on that one. Is there anything else I missed? Sorry, I'm just looking down because I just wanted to look at my notes to make sure I didn't miss anything. What else? So yeah, I think that's really it. Like, I feel like a lot of questions probably you guys are asking me. If you check my blog, which is www.unravelwithholu.com, you can find all that information there. And I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for joining in. I'm really pleased that a lot of you guys showed up, and I'm excited to see you all being here. And if you have any more questions, feel free to send me a DM and I'll try to respond to you as soon as I can. Make sure you check my Instagram page as well. I put lots of information there. I take my time to write all those, so please check it out before you send me a DM. And yeah, thank you guys for joining. Bye.
Be safe and sound, and when I fall